Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special game episode of Between the Lines. It's our tradition here on Fifth Wednesdays to play a game. And it's also tradition for me to not tell these ladies what that game's going to be.
And so, seriously, who else is nervous? Like, this makes me
It
really,
is also
really
a tradition
nervous.
that we enter these episodes terrified.
The amount of trust you put in me is a little terrifying.
Yeah.
We also like to ask if anyone has book news because it's kind of fun to be able to share. But I think I'm actually the only one who does. So I'm going to share. I have a release in just under a week. It's the final installment in my Dread Penny Society series, The Queen and the Knave, comes out, which I'm really excited about. And there is a collector's edition of all the Penny Dreadful stories from that whole series all together in one really gorgeous collection. So I have a double release next week, ladies.
Yay.
Woo! I'm so fancy.
You are fancy.
Yes,
And speaking
you
of
are.
fancy, we're going to play a game that involves me pulling slips of paper from a cowboy hat.
Those
That's
were
what
pulling
fancy people
things
do.
from inside of something. It was like some great game night that I'd agreed to that had like soccer balls with things around the edges of it.
Yeah.
I may have PTSD off of this, Sarah. I don't know if I can handle this.
It's fun and you know it.
Okay.
All right.
that's true.
We're going to be playing a Between the Lines version of Never Have I Ever. I don't know if you guys have played that game. When you usually play it in a group, someone will get up and say, "Never have I ever," and they list something they have never done. And then everyone there has to say, they like raise their hand if they have done it. Does that make sense? We're trying to figure out who has like the most unique experiences. So I put together a whole bunch of slips of paper of things that authors can experience. And we're going to see which of us have experienced those things. I'm hoping for some juicy stories. I'm hoping for some deep emotional confessions. No, I'm just kidding.
Trauma
way more
to
shallow
be
than that.
resurfaced.
Exactly. I'd like to give you all something to talk about in therapy. So here we go. All right. So I'm going to draw one. And you guys raise your hand if you've done this, and I'll say who's raising their hand for those of us who are listening in podcast land. Okay. Raise your hand if you have ever hugged a copy of a book you wrote. Okay, we have all done that, right? It's one of those things, whenever I do it, like my non-writing family looks at me like, that seems a little weird. So I wondered if anyone else has done it. Please tell me this is normal.
We have like
if it-
spun and twirled and thrown it in the air and done all kinds of things. With
Esther's
my new
like
copy
hugging
of
is
the
where it starts.
Yeah. Yes.
And
But
there's
she-
an out of context
Who likes
quote.
writing kissing scenes, so you know.
Maybe the slip of paper should have said, "Have you ever kissed a book you wrote?" Because that
Mhm.
might
I
have
was
been
like, who has men on their cover besides me? Like a big man face. I'm just kidding.
That's another.
I'm
this
just
is
acting
this is
so
great for the out of context quotes. Okay, here's our next one. Have you ever ugly cried while reading your own writing?
I have cried. I don't know how ugly.
Well,
I'm the same
ugly is
way.
my way of
Cried
excusing
my
myself.
own-
I don't cute cry.
Yeah,
well, in that
I've
case, yes.
cried. Yeah.
I only
cried,
cute
but I
cry,
don't
so I wasn't going to raise my hand.
Oh, you were like horrible when I cry. So nope. My gosh. So the question is, did you cry because it was so good or cry because it was so awful?
I cried because my characters were going through a hard time.
Yes. Yes. You felt
so
empathetic.
sad.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Okay, it may have just happened yesterday, just saying. But anyway,
It's like it's happening right now.
The ugliest crying is for me, like after I finish a book and then I curl up in a ball and cry for a while. Sometimes that happens. But it's not like while I'm reading, it's like,
Right.
I
Yes,
finished.
exactly. It's both
Yeah.
relief and exhaustion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes.
Like an emotional release of some sort.
Yes.
Okay, here's one. It's juicy, ladies. Have you ever written an experience from your own life into one of your books?
yes.
Tracy, are you even allowed to talk about it, Tracy?
Well, some of it wasn't specifically me. It was what was happening to my sister because I had a whole book off of
Oh.
that.
So you've used other people's life experiences. What about, okay, Sean?
Uh,
It?
A lot of mine are experiences that are to do with locations. So, I take my characters to places that I've gone that a lot of people haven't. And so I relive that experience. And I've written a couple of books that one was You Came For Me, and the other one was The Gem Thief, that the trips that my family made. And actually, when I was writing You Came For Me, my daughter would come home from school, and it was set in London, and I was taking the characters to places that we went as a family. And so she would read over my shoulder to kind of relive that experience. Like, oh, yeah,
That's awesome.
eat, and that's where we went. And so that was fun.
That's fabulous. I'll tell you, I included this one because I was hoping Esther would say, because I think Esther's very good at putting her characters into hilarious situations. And so I had really hoped she'd be like, yes, the following things actually happened to me.
I'm sitting here going like, I know I've actually done, I know it, but I literally cannot think of an example of something from my real
when you're
life.
on the spot. Yeah. My
Later.
most famous one, on our first trip to Ireland, we got our car stuck in a field.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a version where someone gets their cart stuck in a field.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was research.
Okay, let's see. Next one. Have you ever fangirled embarrassingly over another author? Okay, Esther and I win that one.
Yeah.
Is it something you can share, Esther, or is it still
No,
too
I just
tender?
feel like, I feel like for me, the most probably embarrassing times were right as my book was accepted, and I was learning about the whole author community, that you could like be more involved in it than I was. And I went to a couple of signings like before my book came out even, and it was like panicky feelings knowing like I'm going to enter this world. And so it like added a whole nother dimension of like fangirl awkwardness of like, do I say that I'm writing books? Do I not say? And yeah, so, and Sarah was definitely one of them that happened with. And then I'm trying to think of who, and then I've also had Nancy Campbell Allen come to my book club. And like, that was like a weird moment because I felt like cool because I knew her well enough to invite her to my book club, but I also felt like, look, I brought an author to my book club. So I don't know. Yeah. I do that still, probably, honestly.
A couple of years ago, Tracy posted that she was going to like an author get together somewhere back east. I don't remember where.
Virginia.
And so I'm looking at the list of authors and see Tony Shiloh on the list. And like legit had a mental breakdown. Like, I was fangirling vicariously because I adore Tony Shiloh's books. I've never met her in real life. So like Tracy suddenly became really cool to me. So
that's what it took. But the funny thing is, on the other side of it, so I'm telling Tony that, hey, Sarah Eden said to say, she's like, oh my gosh, Sarah Eden. And she did the same thing. So they were both fangirling over each other, which was darling.
Well. All right. Have you ever written a book or a story based on a dream you had? We all know the famous, Stephanie Meyer's Twilight came from a dream. Have any of you had a dream that you wrote a book from? I'm not seeing any hands.
My dreams are so disjointed. It would be a horrible, horrible book.
All right. No hands went up, and I'm so relieved. If I wrote a book based on my dreams, people would think I was on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That makes me feel better about my life. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever had a signing that legitimately no one came to?
Really, Sarah?
Wow. Only one of you hand up. For those of you in podcast land, you should be feeling very sorry for me right now.
I feel like you can say 6 or under, and then I probably raise my hand.
If you say anyone but family, then no one but family came to, I would raise my hand for that one.
Okay, my family's never come to mind.
The only person who came into the store the whole time was someone who was trying to sell the cashier window cleaner. That was the only person. So yeah, I had one literally no one came to. Oh my gosh. And yet we keep doing this, ladies.
I know. We're crazy.
Okay. I know the answer to this for a few of you. Have you ever signed a book you didn't actually write?
Esther's the only innocent one.
Oh my gosh. And we have an episode coming up in a few weeks where this story actually gets told. So you'll have to tune in and get some background on that. Although a story that wasn't part of that episode, I had someone come to one of my signings who legitimately thought I was Julianne Donaldson. And she deeply insulted my books, not realizing that I was actually Sarah Eden, and then asked if I would sign Julianne's books because they were so much better. And so I couldn't tell her who I really was without making it doubly awkward. So I just forged Julianne's name.
But you did tell her.
I did tell Julianne I did it. Yes. My gosh. Okay. Have you ever had an argument with one of your characters?
All the time.
Okay. So Tracy and I raised our hands. And I'm talking like legitimately, like maybe even out loud.
I don't think I've done that. I've been frustrated with them, but I haven't actually argued with them.
All right. So Tracy and I are the weirdos on this question.
I mean, you guys, I write the Saint Squad. That says it's like they
enjoy arguing with you is what the problem.
And it's always at 4 a.m. But yes,
okay,
I've argued.
Have any of you either changed the name of a character partway through a book?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's all of us. Yay! I think I've heard Tracy doesn't even name hers.
Okay, I don't know that there's a book that I haven't had to do that with, because I'm like, oh wait, I think I've already used that name twice in this book, much less recently. So yeah.
I have a character that is named after an early reader of mine, because I had one person notice I had double used the same name. This is a side character. So they're like, oh, you already have a Mary or a William or whatever it was. It was a last name actually. And so I was like, oh, I am so glad you caught that. Changed the last name. And then my next reader said, you have a character with that name. So I had changed the name to a different name that it already used for another small side character.
That's me.
And so I just turned to that reader. I mean, it was online, so I didn't actually turn, but I said, do you care if I use your last name in my book? And she said no. So that is how that character got named, because I was like, I'm pretty sure if I use your last name, it won't be coming from a nugget in my brain of this book because I think that's what it is. They're last names that are fresh in my mind. Because I used them like 4 chapters ago.
Your brain pulls it out and you think, that's genius.
That's a good name.
Well, and then when you write historical, they don't have as many names. Yeah. So you have a much smaller pool of names to choose from. And so you do have to recycle. Yeah. And in fairness, they recycled. You know,
I was going to say, in reality, they would know.
Yeah.
6 Marys, but we can't do it in our book.
Anyone with British Isles ancestry who attempts to piece together a family tree and you realize everyone in the whole village is named William Smith. And you're like, well.
Mary Jones.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I think we got time for one more. Have you ever written a book, not necessarily published it, but written a book outside of the genre or genres you are already known for? And Sean's like, there isn't a genre I'm not known for.
I've written in so many that I guess.
He's written everything.
Sean's like, I'm known for everything, so no.
No, I haven't written science fiction, and I probably never will. And I actually haven't written fantasy, but I have written pretty much every other era. And I've written different age groups. I've done picture books, middle grade. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so now I am very curious, Esther and Tracy, what genres are these mystery books written in?
My first ever book was a fantasy. And it is written, it's not edited. I mean, at all edited, like it's a mess. And then I am currently working on a contemporary. So it's been fun. So yeah.
Fabulous. Tracy.
So one of my first, I would call it a practice novel, was actually YA. So not too far. And no, it was not historical. So if anyone was thinking maybe I'd written a historical beyond 1956, then no.
That's what I was hoping for. I'm now so disappointed.
I know. I could see it in your face.
Oh my gosh. I have a contemporary romance that will never and should never see the light of day. I have a YA fantasy that also should never and will never see the light of day. And I have like historical women's fiction based on actual historical events that I hope will someday see the light of day. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of
I feel like we're going to get an awful lot of comments wanting these books published and looking for them. Yes.
And don't you just want to say, I promise some of these you don't want to see?
Yeah. There's a reason they're not out.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not being selfish. I'm actually saving you from pain and suffering. Oh my gosh. All right, well, that was fun. See, when you trust me, great things happen, ladies. We've learned so much more about each other.
Wasn't as scary as some of the others.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I'm going to draw one more. And those of you playing along in the comments, see if you can guess who would answer yes to this.
So we don't raise our hand.
Right.
Okay.
So the question I have is, who amongst the four of us do you think has at some point misspelled their own name when signing a book? So the ladies should know the answer. I don't know what everyone's answer is. Put your guesses in the comments, either on this video or on our various social media channels. And we'll see who guesses it correctly. If you're following us on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you next time on Between the Lines.